to Michael in Miami. Michael, you're live with Eric and Dave. What would you like to talk about today?
Hi, guys. I'm actually, I'm a Christian, and specifically, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. And the thing for me is that probably for the past 2 years, if I'm recalling my timetable correctly, I've sort of been in this place where I guess you could say, sort of like an agnostic type place where I'm just not sure how much of my belief is based upon true personal conviction, as opposed to just, following something that I was taught to believe in. Because my family became Seventh-day Adventist when I was like 4 years old. Mm-hmm. And one time I was just sort of like thinking back on my faith, and I kind of realized that much of my ardor, because I went to public school for most of my for most of my life, and the thing is, usually I was like enthralled in, say, like what's the word I'm looking for? Debates, I guess you can say, with some of my classmates about evolution versus creation and stuff like that. Sure. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Seventh-day Adventists, but we are biblical literalists, and we, if I was to put a label on it, young earth creationists and stuff like that. My point is, though, is that looking back on all that, I kind of realized that all of my zeal was founded upon this one particular doctrine, and that is biblical inerrancy. Mm-hmm. And when I considered that my adherence to that doctrine was really just based upon, my mom told me that's what we believe, and then I just kind of ran with it from the time I was a kid. And, I just kind of forgot that. So now I'm in this place where I don't know how much of my faith is like really sound. And, it's opened me up to, I guess this realization kind of opened me up to different things, like I've been watching a lot of different videos on YouTube, like Genetically Modified Skeptic or Cosmic Skeptic, and or Aaron Ra, and just like considering some things that normally, like in the past, I would just sort of like bury underneath a pile of like dogmatic rhetoric, I guess you can say. So, but nonetheless, I know this should come to a question. The thing that I was particularly thinking about, though, was in terms of like prophecy. What I'm doing now is I'm just trying to like gain different people's perspectives as much as I'm just trying to talk to different people so you get their perspective on things. And one such thing I'm trying to get perspective on is what is like the atheist. I know this is like a pretty broad question, but what's like the atheist take on prophecy? Because usually that was one of the things that was, I guess you could say, some of the stronger, like cited as one of some of the stronger proofs of the Bible is prophecy that have allegedly been fulfilled.
It got a little bit windy, Michael. I'm having trouble hearing you.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I was just saying that when it comes to arguments for the inerrancy of the Bible, one such thing that is usually cited as one of the stronger proofs is prophecy. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to know what the atheist response was in general to prophecy. Like for instance, like I said, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, and the main prophecy I would say that much of our doctrine hinges upon is the 2300-day prophecy. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that, or the 70-week prophecy. So, yeah, I'm like, I know it's a pretty broad question. I'm not sure how much more I could.
No worries, man. I'd be happy to dive in just a little bit. So I think the first thing that I'm going to say is going to be incredibly disappointing. And that is that I cannot give you the atheist opinion.
I was going to say there's no unified atheist position. We don't have we don't have a scripture book to look to. We just we're called free thinkers for a reason. But go ahead and talk to the prophecy issue, Eric. I know you're well equipped for that.
Sure, man. So with that out of the way, there are plenty of atheists who think some pretty wacky stuff. It's just the answer to one question. That said, what is a skeptical viewpoint of it? And I think that is the tool that you're looking for. Is you're looking for skepticism. How could it be wrong, right? How do I apply the scientific method to prophecy? And what does it look like when it's incorrect? Have you looked into incorrect prophecies before?
I did see one time. One such video I saw. Like I mentioned earlier, that I've been like looking at say Aaron Ra's videos, and one video that I saw that he did was called "Unfulfilled Prophecy," and or "Unfulfilling Prophecy" rather, and that was like getting at different, I guess you say, different biblical prophecies that he was saying were either not fulfilled or we're actually talking about something else that modern Christians try to ascribe a different meaning to. So right. I haven't like really looked into it beyond that though.
Sure, no worries. There's another person I would say take a look at, and that's my roommate, Holy Kool-Aid. He did a psychic cringe fail video, and I think he did more than one, and it was awesome. See, the thing with prophecy is it's not just within the realm of Christians. Prophecy has been something that multiple religions have been, espouting since time immemorial. People would go to oracles to see, what the result of going to war would be like back in the day. And definitely right around the time of the founding of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, you had this huge amount of revival and prophecy and that kind of thing happening. And so you have people who are putting a lot of stock into prophecy. And so how do we determine whether or not it is something to take seriously? I think the first is you need to look at who's making the prophecy, right? If you're only learning about the prophecy after the fact, then how do you determine that somebody didn't just make it up, right? Let's say you go to the grocery store today and, somebody brings you a letter afterwards and they say, it says that Michael's going to go to the grocery store today. And I wrote it 3 weeks ago.
Right.
Well, that would have been a whole lot more useful yesterday. Right. And that's kind of the problem with the Bible is you have these things being written after the fact. And that kind of sucks all of the amazingness out of it. For prophecies that people say get fulfilled in the future, other than checking out my roommate and the number of other skeptic YouTubers that you're talking about, see how vague it is. There's this thing called a Barnum statement where that is just so all-encompassing that people can read kind of whatever they want into it and see themselves in it. And so if something is sufficiently vague...
The same concept like horoscopes, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right there. Exactly.
It's so vague. It's so vague. And I like in biblical prophecies too, seeing constellations in the stars. If you go out at night and you've got a book of constellations and there's a crab and there's a bull, and they've got the outline drawn from these stars to make this figure. Well, if I'm just looking at the stars, I'm not seeing a bull. I'm seeing 3 stars that they've then taken and drawn lines together to make a figure out of. Somebody had a vivid imagination and said, oh, that's a bull, or that's a crab, or that's a horse, or a lion, or whatever those constellations. I don't know them, but that's kind of how biblical prophecy is. It's so vague, you can make it turn out to be whatever you wanted it to be. And even like Eric said, when you've got the Bible being written after the fact, well, you can write anything to make it sound like this is a prophecy being fulfilled. And in some cases, you can stretch the truth a little bit and have Jesus being born somewhere to fulfill a prophecy when he really maybe wasn't born there. And it can get pretty convoluted and pretty shady.
Yeah. In fact, Dave, you got it exactly. That makes me think of the Jesus story. Where was Jesus born? Was he born in Bethlehem or was he born in Nazareth? Well, you have people after the fact that are saying, oh, no, he definitely was both because that has to fit the narrative.
It does.
And so, okay.
So he's born in 2 places. He's born one place and goes another place when he's really young. And yeah, it's a lot of stretching.
Definitely. And so, okay, so that's one way to look at prophecy. Another is personal. If you can motivate yourself to seeing something happen, you can create a self-fulfilling prophecy in the same way that you can walk into a college class on your first day and say, I'm going to fail this class. And lo and behold, you failed the class. Were you being prophetic? No, because you have the power to affect that change. And we see that a lot when it comes to people saying, oh, well, look at the formation of Israel.
Yeah.
Right. You have people who are motivated to see those things happen. You have a lot of religious people who are enacting laws and doing what they can to fulfill what they see as the requisite materials to begin the end times. If you are motivating people to do it, then it being fulfilled is not as special either.
Mm-mm. There's an agenda there. That's the problem. There's an agenda that's trying to be fulfilled, and they're trying to use prophetic utterances and prophetic fulfillments to meet that agenda.
Yeah. I mean, Michael, I don't know if you were listening to the last call. Were you when we were talking to Corey?
I heard some of it.
Okay.
I wasn't sure what the context was of the full conversation or anything.
Sure, no problem. He was saying that answered prayer is evidence that God exists because prayers get answered. And so last week we questioned him about it and said, well, how come they don't get answered in this case? How come whenever we try to study it, it doesn't shake out that way? And he looked into it. And the thing that I really wanted to tell him, and now I'm getting the opportunity to tell you, is it's not like we don't wish it was true. That would be awesome. If somebody could see the future, that would be awesome. I read comic books with stories of people who can do that because I'm so interested in that. But just because you want something doesn't mean it's true. And it's not that I'm trying to, disprove that no matter what the case is. The fact is I just want to be open to the evidence. And the evidence just does not show that in his case, intercessory prayer works. And in your case, that prophecy does.
Yeah, we just want to believe as many things that are true as we can. We're not trying to. There's no agenda for me anyway. I just want to believe things that are true. Another resource, I've got several friends who were former Seventh-day Adventists, and one resource you might check out is a guy named Ryan Bell. He's a former Seventh-day Adventist pastor, and he's got a show called Life After God, a podcast. You can find it, and he interviews people on there, and I've been on there a time or two. So yeah, there's people out there like you that began to ask questions and wondered if what they'd been believing was true. I mean, Eric and I are two of them.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Finally, I think there are two more points that I really want to hit. And I really want to hit them because I feel like they're good tools to get out there. First is counting the hits and ignoring them. There are plenty of psychics counting the hits and ignoring the misses.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who describe themselves as psychics who will make hundreds and hundreds of predictions. And if any one of them came true, then they go, okay, see, there's my evidence. But they don't tell you how many they made. And so there are people who make a living on that.
Mm-hmm.
So what you need to do is you need to consider how many prophecies they made that came true versus how many prophecies didn't. Because if they're just counting the ones that happen to coincidentally be true, maybe there's going to be a storm in the Southwest. Ooh, no, Southeast. Sorry, that happens. Tropical storms happen all the time. In the Southwest, right? There's going to be an earthquake. No shit.
Right. It was kind of like my that was kind of like my contention sometimes. But one of the things that I began to get skeptical, I kind of like broached some skepticism with when it comes like say the prophecies in Matthew 24, when Jesus says, or the scripture says that Jesus said that there will be wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes. I'm like, but that happens like throughout all of human history. So I'm beginning to like wonder like how is that? How are the wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes and such an indication of anything in our day? Like, how do we know that it's not just a repetition of the same cycle as before?
Absolutely. And you can get really specific. So if you want to see like a really, really wacky rabbit hole, check out how many times The Simpsons accurately prophesied things to happen in the future. It is weird. And we know it's a cartoon, and there are things that just happened to come true in the future. It doesn't mean that there was someone clairvoyant working for The Simpsons. It just means that if you make enough future predictions,
you'll hit a few.
Yeah, it'll come. One or two of them can coincidentally happen. So hopefully hopefully that helped.
Okay. I'm sorry. What was the name of that former Seventh-day Adventist skeptic again?
Ryan Bell, and the show is Life After God. Ryan Bell, Bell. Just go to your
Bell.
wherever you see podcasts. Just pull up, do a search for Life After God, and that's his.
All right, got it.
Okay, man.
All right.
Good luck, Michael. You bet.
Take care, brother.
All right. Peace.
That was really, everybody's been really nice so far.
Yeah, what's going on here? Everybody's so nice.
You know, it's amazing that we do have people who are honestly saying, hey, here's what's going on. And I can't tell you how many messages I've gotten from people, especially in recent weeks, who are saying, hey, I'm afraid to call in, or, you know, I'm afraid to reach out because I'm still questioning and I'm worried. And
that's the time to reach out. Yeah. No, it's good to have nice call. It reminds me of my favorite moment on the show with you. You'll remember this when I tell you about it. We had a caller. He had been a caller of yours before. I think it was the first show I'd done with you, maybe the second. I can't remember. Anyway, a really good call. We were very congenial conversation, and he's really nice, and we were disagreeing very nicely with each other. And he said something like, it's just really good to be able to, you know, disagree and get along. And I said, yeah, I've disagreed with lots of people who are wrong. And you looked at me like, what? you turned to me like, what? You can't say that.
I remember that. I shot you some daggers. I was like, we worked towards this, but it was funny.
I was totally kidding, and he knew that. He got the joke, so it was fun.
For sure. Yeah, I remember. Definitely.